Great, we are, Mr. Mayor.
Call the workshop to order.
Alright, on the workshop agenda, number 1, we have the Golf Commission met at the golf course on June 2nd, 2025 to discuss the progress of the greens in the course. It was determined by the Golf Commission to open the golf course to the public on June 27th, 2025. This is a Friday. There is still a lot of work to do, but we have a lot of staff down there working hard. Any questions on that? Andy was there, Cody and Glenn were all there checking it out. Do you have anything to input?
Did you have pretty much everything under control as far as beverage station and all the coolers and stuff that we're gonna get?
So we're working on that, and actually Matt and I were just talking about that. We just need to get the electrical hooked up and get the coolers in there and set it up.
Okay.
Are you doing any special pricing then for memberships for the years?
No, we're running the same special that we have, and then they can use their credit towards that.
Okay.
If they don't want to do a membership, then we are entertaining a punch card. They can use their credit for a punch card also.
Do you want to entertain the motion of dealers, entertain the thought of maybe doing an annual membership? So it'll be good from the date it's purchased? Or is that going to be an issue with spring sales?
There'll be an issue with your revenue. So then at the end of the year, then if you want to look at what you brought in for revenue, I'd have to split it and then switch it
I've had some
over.
people ask since it's so late if it would be like good for a year.
That's why we were looking at taking the credit and putting it towards a punch card,
Yeah.
so they won't lose out on anything.
Okay.
And as everybody knows, we won't be able to mix drinks down there, but we are coming up with some very creative, pre-mixed drinks in a can and, shots that are actually they're sold already pre-mixed. You just rip off the top and you can have shots. So finding some products that, hopefully will be fun to, purchase. All right, any other questions, concerns, thoughts?
A lot of effort when you did this word is, you kind of don't take that for granted, just try to buy this lotion until you stand on it. It's a lot of effort to wait these team.
Yeah. The staff has done an amazing job, so kudos to them. All right, number 2, the pool is scheduled to open this Wednesday, June 11th. We've had some issues with some builders and stuff, but we're getting by. I know James Forstner is going to call back that Mike Fisher, the pool consultant, and call a meeting so we can discuss what the future looks like again and how far we can go, because we discussed this morning in the meeting that pool pumps, I know the slide, that pump is not looking too well either. So call the meeting again to discuss with Mike Fisher things that we can do. We'd like to, if we're going to purchase things, we'd like to purchase if we do redo the pool. We don't want to have to rebuy stuff, so we're looking at different ways, but I know they're not, I don't know, Cody, have you talked to him? He's not a big fan of reusing things.
No, he doesn't want to do the filters and then hook them up to a new pool, but I don't know if that's just I'm sure they probably just don't do it very much.
I was just gonna say, last year when I was on the pool commission, I remember him, we were talking about, I don't know if we were upgrading the filters or not, but he did not want to use anything if we got a new one.
Again, and if we got a new pool or
Yeah.
something. But we will have to bring the pool back to the table and meet with them again in regards to the status of where we sit with everything. So, we're gonna do the best we can with what we got this year, and we'll keep on plugging away.
Do you have a projected closing date?
Closing date?
Yeah, well, isn't there
We're not even
normally,
open yet.
isn't there normally a date when the lifeguards are no longer?
It's usually in August, and I don't know that off the top of my head. It's when they go back to college or they go back to school.
It's just,
What you thinking?
well, if you don't open it until the 15th and close it August 15th is a 2-month pool season, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it takes us a whole month to get it up and running.
That's what I
Because of
mean.
all the issues that we have.
I don't know.
So you just close it?
Well, no, I'm not saying that, but
Just seeing if anybody wants
I'm
to
saying that-
stay on longer.
I'm saying that maybe we should find some lifeguards and keep it open until, you know, at least until school starts.
Yeah?
Because I know last year there was, I mean, not a lot. I heard some feedback, like, it was 102 degrees or whatever, and August and the pool wasn't open, it was like, and there's no lifeguards, well, it's full and it's been functional, now, you know, probably not the time to close it if we can help it, so I don't know what the solution to that is, if it's finding lifeguards that aren't necessarily going back to college, or at least having maybe some that are local enough to work through that, or whatever, so.
But they also start sports, and then they're in sports, that kind of takes them out of the picture.
Yeah, mid-August usually.
Yeah.
You volunteering to lifeguard, so.
I would probably have to brush up. It's been a while since I was trained.
Is the pool manager a certified lifeguard?
Yes.
Yes. So,
Well, I guess the question would be put out feelers and just see what everybody's fall schedule looks like, and if there's a couple that are, you know, not gonna be booked up and they wanna pick up hours until the end of August might be.
I don't disagree with you. When you have the pool and it's only operating for 2 months out of the year, and it always declares a loss, it's a very hard sell to the public to
Well-
upgrade it and to, you
And
know,
I get it in the spring, I mean, you get a 50-degree day like today, would there have been anybody there, you know, probably not.
you know,
But the end of the season, closing it before, you know, Labor Day or whatever, is a little tough.
mhm.
I agree.
Okay. We'll put that on our list to, discuss. Number 3, pay request number 1 for GM contracting for $708,212.66 is on the agenda tonight. With these big pay requests like that, we cut the check, but do not send it. We have to cut the check to send it over to the county for, county engineer then to send it to the state. So if you see that check on the thing, it has not left. It will not leave until the state funding comes back to the county, and then the county gives it to us, and then we actually send the check. So, because if we sent out a $708,000 check, we wouldn't have very much money.
So that's just a process that we have to do, just so they know that we're paying it, we just have to wait for the.
Yeah, I just want you to be aware of that, so, nothing leaves the building until that funding from the bond, from the whole thing comes back to us.
What's the turnaround time on that?
Well, it has been like a month, and so this one, I called up and I said, we can't be a month out. We have to speed up the process on this. And so Michael McCarty, the county engineer, helped me with this one, and he actually copied me on the email that went to the state. So I'm gonna just keep on following up, so we don't sit here waiting for it for a month.
Sounds to me like we don't actually ever see the money that came out of that bond. The state owns the funds,
Yeah,
and they basically cut the checks.
yep, so every time that I get a bill for that project, I then have to go to Heather, she cuts the check, then I basically then send it over to the county engineer then sends it to the state, and then the state approves it, and then it comes back to the county, then the county has to cut a check for it to come here.
But I guess, yeah, So my first one is we don't actually have a sheet of money, but two is somebody else has to be dealing with this process, because I'm assuming the state does the same thing for every county.
Yeah, any state aid thing too, when the county is your host, we have to go through the same process.
So they're just a pass through the counties.
Yep, the county is a pass-through, but the county also represents, checks and balances also on everything, so everything that I send to Michael, he has to look through. So he's looking at the pay requests, he's looking at the quantities that are used, he's also looking at the engineering, bills that come in, and making sure that they stay within the budget.
And he's fine with how much this check is gonna be and what progress we're at this point in time?
Michael is,
Oh, yeah, he is.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And Michael's well aware of everything, so. But I do believe there's a couple more grants that are coming up that are gonna be handled the exact same way also, that I'll have to go through the county. And so I'm very grateful to Jim and everybody for finding a county engineer, because that's the other thing. If you don't have a county engineer, a lot of that funding will not be given to you.
So then do you have to do like the status reports then of everything for the grant to the state, or don't we have to do them for this?
Like, what kind of
Like
status?
the progress and where we're standing and stuff like that?
That's what's actually, if you look at the pay request that's on here,
Yeah, no, I saw the
yeah,
spreadsheet, so.
it shows the percentage and where you actually are at and everything.
Okay.
So I send them that whole packet with everything.
You do that every time we have a pay request then, basically?
Yep, every time that I have a pay request for Center Avenue, I have to send them everything.
Okay.
Do they give you an updated schedule on full time 60 and
I don't have one last week. Adam was out, we did not have a weekly meeting. And so Adam will be back this week, we'll have a weekly meeting and I'll know some more. So, but all right, any other questions on that? Okay. Number 4, ambulance update. On February 25th, 2025, the annual meeting of ambulance and fire was held with all the respective townships and cities. At the meeting, the depreciation schedule was discussed and proposed replacement of a chassis on a current rig, or the purchase of a new third rig was discussed. It was agreed to reconvene on April 10th, 2025, after all the townships and cities met to discuss paying up to the allocation that was scheduled on the depreciation schedule and putting it into a bank account CD and being billed each year for the schedule amount. Does everybody understand that? I know, like, Mark and Cody, you've sat through those meetings, kind of understand. Back in 2020, I'll just kind of give you an update on this. Back in 2020, when I started, it was always a constant fight in between the townships and everything in regards to pursuing new rigs or new anything. And so we came up with a depreciation schedule that allocates what each entity that's within the contract is going to weigh each month, or each year, I'm sorry. But we're finding out that some of these entities are not putting away the money. And so the big discussion was for all the entities to pay up to the current amount that was allocated in the depreciation schedule and put it into its own bank account or CD. And so we've all now decided to do that. And so tonight, one of the items on your agenda is to approve to put our allocation into its own bank account or CD, along with the townships and the other cities, and then to bill them each year for what has been scheduled for their allotted amount, so we can stay on the capital outlay of it. So the one thing this year that happened was we received an EMS aid, because if anybody saw in the news that all rural EMSs are having troubles with retaining staff and all of that, so they allocated amounts of money to EMSs around the state. And we received an allotment. And so in that aid, we took out, if you see on the depreciation schedule, $57,777.78. We took out that out of that aid and put towards the depreciation of the capital to allow all the towns and the townships to pay up to what they currently own. And so that billing just went out, and so they will pay up, and I will put it in its own bank account. So they can see the progression of the interest if we put it in a CD. This came from knowing that a lot of the townships or cities have not put away money every single year, and it's kind of caught up to a few of them. And so that is one of the biggest reasons for the reconvening of the meeting, was for them to go back and discuss how they felt about it. And they all came back on April 10th and agreed that they'd pay up to what they were supposed to owe, and then also discussed that instead of putting a new chassis on one of the rigs, to buy a third ambulance. And so both of those items are on your agenda tonight in regards to that. So, go ahead.
Is there a place to park it inside?
Yeah, there's 3 garage stalls at the ambulance garage.
Does the current depreciation schedule take into account inflationary numbers and stuff as well, or not? Really?
No, and that is, well, right now, the depreciation schedule from 2020 was allocated for $250,000 for 2 rigs. And then they were scheduled to be, a new rig was supposed to be purchased in 2028 and 2027. But when the townships and everybody met, they decided that they would like to do a 3rd rig right now to prolong the other 2 rigs. And we would have the allocation between all of it to do this 3rd rig.
Is that due to all the transfers and stuff like that they're constantly doing?
It's the volume and the helping of like Crystal, the helping of St. James. It's just a lot more going on with rural EMSs right now, and we are very fortunate that we have this agreement with the hospital and that we actually have a crew that you don't have to worry about when you make a call, somebody's coming for you.
That's one of the nicest things, you know, with my job, hearing it on the radio all the time, that Medelia has no problem with an ambulance service.
But that is why the other communities are coming to us and asking for help.
So,
Is this agreement reviewed annually then?
The agreement is reviewed
So we
annually,
can take into inflation increases and things
Yeah.
like that, like Amy's suggested and stuff like that.
but first off, the biggest thing is just to get them on a routine and to pay up to where they're supposed to be, and then go back to the table and figure out where we're supposed to be.
I know it's a different thing, but isn't that also what they were supposed to do for the fire department as well?
Yeah, and
Some
so
of them
then
thought they were
that's,
paying for the ambulance, so they were paying for the fire department.
oh, yeah. But now the fire department, now we changed that to go to sections.
Or-
So they pay the $525 per section, which then I take the expenses that we normally bill out, and I take that amount off, and then the rest of it then goes to capital. So they're covering their capital and their expenses. On here, for the ambulance, we just do the capital.
And would there be a reason to go with a bank account or CD instead of like investing in a 4M or someplace else that might have a
The-
little better return?
Yeah, they didn't hear, I think, yeah, we can go 4M. I'm not leaving it in a bank account, it's pretty much gonna go in a CD or 4M. to maximize the growth of it.
Cause that'd be less they're gonna have to
But it
pay
won't,
when it comes to,
Yeah.
the actual repurchasing.
but we have to agree to put this money into a separate account. And then I produce, all of the statements and everything to everybody at every annual meeting, so they know what is in there and what they allocated to it.
And then I would assume like, so say you're gonna go to 3 rigs for foreseeable future or whatever, but at some point, one of those rigs is gonna have to be retired or re-outfitted or whatever. Any proceeds from that would go back into this capital account.
Yep, yep.
Maybe I'm missing here, what's the amount to purchase the third rig?
It's 297.
It's on the next page, it's the quote for the arrow.
Yeah, for 99 to that. And then,
Sorry,
right?
265, yeah, 299, and that's what the
Pro 2000.
cop on there, the director.
So because I ran the depreciation schedule, we had our allocations put away every single year. So our capital account holds $183,643.08. And so our 51% of that rig was $152,941.
So what you're saying is we have the money to cover our portion, but maybe not everybody else does.
Everybody else does. They said that they did at the.
They just didn't wanna admit to it right away.
No, there were some that said they were broke. I
Let's
mean,
just
at the
say,
first meeting,
That's what you always say.
but by the second meeting, they kind of had everything figured out, how they were gonna.
let's just say it was a lot of work. So. Any other questions on that? I did include the letter that was sent out to all of the townships and, the cities, the depreciation schedule I put in there, the breakdown of the payment of the jurisdictions, a copy of the current contract, and then a copy of the service area that Adelia Community Ambulance covers. And the reason I did the service area was that one of the issues, we have one that borders Malone or Alina. And they're like, we're so close to Alina. But I'm like, but half of your township is closer to Madelia than it is, New Ulm. But, that's a little, they have their 2 cents to put in on there. So they would like to change the service area, but no, we're not changing the service area. But the one that I was shocked about was the city of LaSalle. The city of LaSalle showed up at the last meeting, and the city of LaSalle has not been a part of our group for a very, very long time. And they showed up at the April 10th meeting, and they would like to be a part. They would like to help and be a part with us. That's because they are stated in there, they are 2% of our 100%, but they do want to be a part of us. I think a lot had to do back in the day.
Yeah, past there.
Like Nancy Township,
Is that the one I wanna know?
that's the one that I have issues with.
That is the battery powered, so.
How far east is that one?
20 is right at the curves, like on Dirksen, or 21 at 60.
Yeah.
Is that medical?
But we just did have a call right there at that intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah, right at the end.
Were all the townships aware of the contract or the, way that we have it set up with the community health now and how they're
Yes.
staffing and everything? Because
Yeah, Madelia Health was at the meeting and explained.
So Madelia Health came into the meeting and did a very good presentation. They came in both times. So the first one, we had, both David Walls, the CEO, and then we also had Ryan Marty, the paramedic, Chris Bourbon, and then we have 2 more, paramedics in the back, and, you know, they fielded questions. The biggest question was, if you're doing all of this work and all of these transfers or whatever, you guys should be making a killing. But if anybody understands anything about medical billing, I mean, Medicare only pays a fraction. I mean, if you're going out and sometimes you don't get paid, but you have to have that service. And so, they're not making millions and millions of dollars. But the demand is getting to the point where we need to raise rates so we can help everybody. So, I believe it's in the legislature again in regards to more funding for EMS, so we're hoping and praying that more aid comes in. And then when the aid comes in, then we will then look at more going towards the capital again, so. Any other questions on this? All right, on May 20th, the downtown business owners met with Chris Fisher, Wade Johnson, Rob, Cody, and Matt Gunderson regarding the 2-hour parking signs on Main Street. It was agreed upon by the business owners and staff that the 2-hour parking signs would come down. Business owner and staff also discussed the upcoming Center Point improvements to Main Street. Just want to give you a heads up if you guys noticed that the 2-hour parking signs were down. Any questions, comments from the public on that? Anybody? Okay.
You're calling the center point work an improvement.
Doesn't look like an improvement right
It
now.
will be at some point.
Okay. Project updates. We just put together a little leap before we ran away. Well number 6 needs to be piped before electrical and automation can be finished. Excuse me. Parking lot by well number 6 is complete. And like I said this morning, if you feel the need to go rollerblading, make sure you wear a helmet and pads. It's got quite a grade on it. City staff will start well number 6 building starting the beginning of July and finish before park days. Golf course is opening June 27th. Staff will be working on getting that ready. Concession stand is open. Little league softball fields are open and playable. Baseball field is not ready yet. Covered station and campground are fully open. We did receive the inspection. All we had was a couple of backflow preventers on some of our water, and that was it. So we did very well on our inspection for that. Water system, electrical, and SCADA upgrades are complete. The seasonal staff is on and working, and we got a great bunch of guys in the park area and waiting area. So that is all that I have for workshop, unless anybody else has any agenda items that they would like to discuss.
When are people gonna start parking in that parking lot?
People can park there.
I haven't seen a car there yet.
I know,
So don't we have, some of that is with the beach property, right?
yeah,
Have they been notified that they're supposed to start using that so we can free up that other parking lot behind Christensen's and behind the Murphy building and, because it's pretty tight back.
okay, I'll call Nick. I just assume once you see lines go down, like, you
I would
know.
assume too, but in the last, 3 or 4 days since the lines have been out,
I've only seen 2 trucks.
I've never seen a
The
car.
2 white ones that are up by
Same
the,
2 trucks.
yeah, the veterans,
Yeah, they park up there.
Yeah.
I saw those, but there's really nobody in the parking lots.
okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we should get a food truck in there.
Well,
I don't know.
I won't even tell them about the story that we had last week.
Food truck go in there or what?
Well, you know, Ryan Fisher had this wild, crazy idea about purchasing this popcorn little truck.
Yeah.
Which is now in the city, by the way.
But it is in the city,
Yeah.
but he wanted to bring it out for park days, and he wanted to park it in that parking lot. I'm like, that's fine to everybody that understands what it is and where it's gonna go, you know, like the progression of the improvements, but to people that are just coming into town are gonna wonder, what the heck is that? And why is it sitting there?
Especially the condition it's in.
So, we've all agreed that it will go down in the park during park days, but not in that nice parking lot. So, but yeah, I will get in touch with Nick, and now Matt, that you know, I don't know where your Murphy Building people park.
They're using that.
Christensen's, you know, if you guys wanna come over a little bit further, you know,
Did you get the engine painted?
no.
What they were doing.
We got a colon. We got a colon that's gonna go over the top of it, I guess. So, all right, anything else?
I'll make a motion to close the workshop.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.